President Cyril Ramaphosa is set to deliver his State of the Nation address tomorrow. He'll have a barrage of issues to deal with, including load shedding, service delivery, as well as widening tensions in the eastern DRC that resulted in the deaths of South African soldiers. For more, we're joined by SABC News anchor Bongiwe Zwane, who's in Cape Town this afternoon. Good afternoon, Bongiwe. It's been a busy day in Cape Town ahead of the State of the Nation address, but the crisis on the DRC is one that seems to have captured the minds of many and most certainly will form quite a big part of even the State of the Nation address.
A very good afternoon to you, Mfundo, and to the viewers. Welcome to a very windy Cape Town, I must add. And that is one of the factors that they'll be trying to factor in as they make all the final preparations for State of the Nation Address 2025. Speaking earlier on to SABC News International editor Sophie Mokoena was the Minister of Justice, Mamuluko Kubai, who's talking about the fact that they're factoring in the winds, because we do understand it will be gale force winds of up to 70 kilometers per hour tomorrow. So they are now adding that to their final preparations. And speaking of preparations, Mfundo, just behind me, you can see that we are still at the Cape Town City Hall. It is because the National Assembly, the old National Assembly building, is still not ready. We drove past it a little earlier on today on our way here. There is still quite a lot of work that is to be done in order to try and get that building ready. And even when you listen to the presiding officers earlier on in that state of readiness briefing, they allude to the fact that this is one of the challenges that they are now contending with, because the question of where is SONA 2026 going to be held did arise, and it was one of the big questions that the journalists in attendance wanted to understand, because it's been quite some time since that building was torched. So a lot of questions about why has it not even been ready up until this point. But to speak about some of what is, what is currently taking place behind me, you can see the SAPS band getting ready. They are rehearsing for tomorrow. And earlier on, we saw the Speaker of the National Assembly, Togo Didiza, earlier on just going inside, inspecting to see if it's all systems go. We saw quite a number of ministers as well who are making their way inside to make sure that some of the preparations are currently underway. According to the address by the presiding officers, we do know that former presidents are among those dignitaries that would have then been invited to this particular event, SONA 2025, and it will be hosted in Mfundo under the theme Harnessing Parliamentary Diplomacy for Realization of Global Solidarity, Equality and Sustainability. And this is the first time that President Cyril Ramaphosa will be delivering his State of the Nation address under the government of national unity. A question again coming up as well during the briefing when the presiding officers were briefing on the state of readiness to say, how are you going to be factoring in that particular aspect of the State of the Nation address as well? And the presiding officer saying that yes, it may be a government of national unity, but the different ministries will probably have their chance when it's the Q&A session. That's the question and answer session of the president, which is expected to be held on the 11th and the 12th. And that is when the debate of the State of the Nation address will take place. And on the 13th, the president will reply to some of the points that will be raised during that particular debate, but also saying that they've scaled back when it comes to the preparations of this particular event. Not very far from where I am will be what would be the red carpet, where we are going to be seeing different ministers arriving, and also a number of members of parliament as well arriving for the State of the Nation address tomorrow. One of the big issues when you also listen to what is being said around the State of the Nation address is the fact that there is that request by the Democratic Alliance, their chief whip, to scale back when it comes to the deployment of the SANDF. You know that this is a ceremonial event where we are going to be seeing that part of the ceremony as well, including the 21-gun salute, the parades and all of that. But the Democratic Alliance saying in respect of what happened in the eastern DRC, which is where we saw the fallen members of the SANDF scale back and do not have the full ceremonial part of this State of the Nation address, just to pay homage and respect to the fallen soldiers, but also a lot of eyes on President Cyril Ramaphosa to ensure that he speaks about this particular aspect of, the country, especially when you think about the fact that a lot of questions still linger about that deployment in the DRC. What does he say? What tone does he then take in the light of what has been taking place in the public domain? And one such person who's watching the developments around the continent and beyond is our SABC News International editor, Sophie Mokoena, who is joining us live now. Sophie, a lot of focus when it comes to what took place in the Eastern DRC. South Africans will definitely want to hear what the president has to say.
I think the president is going to open his speech by extending condolences to the family, because you know that it will be his first real public appearance where he can do this. And I think that's where he is going to start as the commander-in-chief of the armed forces, and therefore he will have to do that. And perhaps the whole gathering will also observe a moment of silence. This is a moment for all political parties and those who will be invited to attend the State of the Nation to do that. And we know that this is a thorny issue. The president will be traveling to Dar es Salaam in Tanzania on Saturday, where the leaders of the SADC region and the East Africa community will be meeting to try and find a solution to this problem. While we were introducing the content of this State of the Nation address, I just received a message, a video recording from the chair of the SADC, that is President Emmerson Mnangagwa, talking to media in Zimbabwe, saying that he is going and that he is hopeful that all stakeholders will be invited. On that note, I know that from Kigali, President Paul Kagame, who will be attending, has indicated that for him the negotiations must center around acceptance that M23 rebel members are Congolese. Secondly, the president of the DRC must be willing to engage the M23. And lastly, the FDLR, the people that President Kagame alleges that they were involved in the Tutsi genocide 30 years ago, be disarmed. And lastly, we know that the clergy or the Episcopal Conference in the DRC met President Felix Tshisekedi, almost saying the same thing, saying they are all Congolese, and excluding those who have taken arms will create a problem. They must be included. And I think from South Africa would want answers in terms of what happened. And South Africa, you know, it has been firm on the issue of peace process. As I pointed out on many occasions, the president, when he met Paul Kagame in Kigali ahead of that commemoration of a genocide, he indicated that the peace process and the peace will only lead to a solution to that protracted problem. In relation to our troops, I'm told that they are still there, but there's no fighting. Ceasefire is holding. In relation to the bodies, I'm told that they haven't left DRC.
And that's probably one of the big questions that the families will have, seeking answers. But Sophie, when you think about the State of the Nation address, it is an opportunity for government to speak about what it has done so far, about its program, reporting back to the citizens. And one such issue, which the president will most likely touch on, is the Expropriation Act, which has now caught the attention of the United States.
Yes, I think the president will seek to clarify South Africa's foreign policy, as he always do during the State of the Nation address. You know, a chunk of the State of the Nation address, it's about South Africa and the national issues. But towards the end, he always touched on the issues related to international balance of forces and global challenges. It has been like that since the President Nelson Mandela, President Thabo Mbeki, Kgalema Motlanthe, President Jacob Zuma, and now President Ramaphosa will do the same. But I think this time around, there's too much talk and breaking news around international issues. And the president will seek to set the record straight in terms of South Africa's foreign policy that's anchored around human rights, but secondly, defend South Africa's independence in terms of who they want to make friends with, and in terms of how South Africa want to redress the imbalances of the past. But as you pointed out, the president did speak to Elon Musk, talking about these issues. I'm sure he is talking to many other people around the world, clarifying this issue of expropriation. And the good thing today, Kenny Mapanga, one of our senior journalists who often cover lots of legal matters, has put together a very comprehensive piece that takes us through what this is all about, but linking it with what the Constitution is saying. And I think when you look at that piece, and I think the president also will talk about those issues, and I think that will be a critical moment also to look at the situation in Gaza, the war in Ukraine. As you know, that South Africa has taken Israel to the International Court of Justice and also the International Criminal Court. And therefore, the president will definitely weigh in on international issues, but a chunk of the speech will be about South Africa, South Africans, GNU, and particularly the economy, I'm sure. But of course, he can't ignore the external factors.
It's going to be quite, the speech, especially given what is taking place in the Middle East. You heard there what is taking place in the Eastern DRC, but also for the 2,000 guests, nearly 2,000 guests that are expected to be in attendance from various civil society groupings, religious leaders, cultural groups, also expected to attend the State of the Nation address. They'll be looking to also hear from the president as to what does he say about a number of these issues, and especially some of the South Africans who are preoccupied with service delivery issues, as we were even in conversation with some of them at Olivenot Bosch last night, who were talking about that for them, it's about fixing the roads, it's about addressing infrastructure problems, and that is simply just the basics that they're looking for. But that, it's back to you in studio, Mfundo.
All right, thank you very much, Bongiwe. Well, certainly quite a lot that the president will have to address or give more clarity on, but also on that request to scale down on the elements by the SANDF, such as the 21 gun salute. We'll be speaking to the Speaker of Parliament, Ms. Didiza, in a short while, and we'll pose some of those questions to her around their readiness.